Hey everybody, and welcome to a new video where we're talking about order flow. Order flow is a very important topic, and I can guarantee you this, that any trader who is earning consistently in the markets is using order flow at some level. I guarantee you. And so in this video, I just want to break down some basics about what exactly is market depth, what is order flow, keeping it simple so we can understand here. I want to show you how I'm using order flow, what my process is, what I'm using it for, the tool that I'm using. I want to share with you just some major pitfalls that people have when they're starting to use order flow, and some real mistakes that just cause them to get frazzled with it, to overthink it, and to lose a lot of money while they're trying to learn this. And I'll give you some directions at the end about some things I would suggest using and some maybe tips for getting started using order flow. Okay, so jumping right into it, let me just explain to you what exactly is market depth and what is order flow analysis. These will be two important things that we understand. Now, before we jump in and look at it, I'll say it like this. Market depth and order flow analysis is a topic that people have loved to make way more complicated than it needs to be. And I know from my own experience, I traded for quite a long time, like a couple of years, and I really did not understand what was going on with order flow. I didn't really understand how to use it in my trading. And I know that this is a confusing topic for a lot of people. Also, because when you pull up an order flow tool, it's going to show a lot of numbers. And a lot of times when you do that, it seems like numbers everywhere, and you want to go back to just looking at indicators and just looking at lines. But we need to get past some of these things because, as I said in the very beginning, anybody who's making money is using order flow at some level. So if you want to trade, this is something you're going to have to just get over. But we can keep this simple, and it doesn't have to be overly complicated. We can take it very deep, but we can start on the surface and we can just incorporate it very easily, okay? Or at least very simply. Easy might be the wrong word for trading. So let me jump into my charts. This is how my charts are set up. So this is what I'm looking at, day in and day out. This would be the S&P 500. If we're looking at this, this is the Russell, this is crude oil, this is gold. So all of these products I have set up exactly the same exact way. And in the bottom left-hand corner here, this is my market depth tool. So this is how I'm doing order flow analysis, and this is how I'm placing all of my trades. Now, the market's closed right now, so this isn't moving, but normally this is being active. And what I'll do is I'll place my trades right through this interface. This is a custom tool that's been built out. Now, when we're looking at this, I just want to start off looking at, okay, what exactly is market depth? Because this will be important to understand. Now, when we're talking about market depth, if you're looking at this, okay, as a side note, before we jump in, if you're looking at what I'm looking at right now, if you're looking at my chart, and if you look at this and just think, what in the world is going on here? This is extremely complicated. Okay, yes, there is a lot going on here. There's, of all that we're seeing, there's a lot of individual pieces that are all very important. And if you're looking at this and it feels overwhelmed, you feel like, well, how am I supposed to know what to do with this? That's okay, because I promise you, there's no way, if you've never used order flow analysis and if you don't know anything about this, you're not going to be able to just look at a chart like this and understand what's going on. So it's fine that you don't, but just because you don't automatically know something that is detailed doesn't mean that it's not worth learning, and doesn't mean that you can't learn it. You just have to apply yourself a little bit and kind of get over the learning curve, right, with anything. And so I'm not going to break down right now like what each individual piece of this means because it's outside the scope of this video and it's not important. For this video, it's really important in life, but what I want to talk about is market depth and order flow analysis. So what is market depth? Market depth is just the amount of interest, the amount of orders that are waiting to get filled that people have placed. Now, whether or not they get filled or they get pulled is a different story, but it's what we have for the resting orders or the passive orders that are waiting to be filled. It's the level of interest in that product. So looking here, this is the individual prices that are going on. And then these numbers right here just represent resting orders that are waiting to get filled. So for instance, if we're looking at this 100 orders right here, this 3271.75, this price right here, okay, we can look at this as the market depth as being 100. There's 100 contracts that are waiting to get traded right there. Right above that at the 3272, there's 61 orders that are contracts that are ready to be traded right there. So this is the market depth. And you can see just as you go down, each one of these individual prices just has a different number of orders that are resting, a different amount that are waiting to get filled. So if you're looking at a product or if you're looking at a market and you're seeing it, if a product has a much thicker amount of orders that are waiting to be filled, we'd look at that as a thick book, or we'd look at that as just a deeper market if you're looking at market depth. And then thinner products, when you're looking at those, will have much fewer contracts or much fewer orders that are waiting to get filled. Okay, so that's the market depth. And that's what's being displayed here in a histogram form or in a heat map form. Now, order flow analysis is just simply the analysis of the flow of orders. As simple as that sounds, it really is a simple idea. Okay, market depth is not hard to understand. Order flow analysis is not hard to understand. And when you're looking at how price is moving through each one of these orders, how it's moving through the depth and how it's getting filled, that is order flow analysis. So if you're reading the tape, if you're using a depth of market, if you are, level 2 time and sales window, whatever, there's a lot of things that we can use and a lot of different ways that we can analyze the order flow. But however we're analyzing it, it's all the same general thing of analyzing the flow of orders. All right. So this is market depth and this is order flow analysis. A simple idea that I won't lie was a little bit complicated for me. And this is a thing that I still learn about, and everything in my trading I still learn about. But this is one of those topics that would be misleading if I just said this is a simple thing. You just pop up your charts and start executing it. This is a skill set that you would need to learn. And there's some very nice ways that we can learn this. And once you get over the learning curve and get over that hump, this is a valuable skill to be able to read the order flow. Okay. And not only valuable, I think it's very mandatory to know in your trading. So understanding just some basics about market depth and order flow, what it is, let me talk to you about how I use it specifically. Okay, so this is what I'm looking at day in and day out, and I have this set up where I go through a process of a very specific framework for generating and creating high quality trade ideas every single day. And so I'll have a process that starts me off with a higher time frame that's very zoomed out. I drill that all the way in, and then once I have my ideas and I know what I'm doing, this is what I'm looking at. And then here in the corner where I'm analyzing the market depth and I'm reading the order flow, this is where I'll be placing my trades. Now, what I'm doing here is I already have a high quality trade idea, and as I have those ideas built out of what I'm looking for, when the market is open and when I'm on the screens trading, what I'm doing is letting one of those ideas shape up. If one of my ideas are shaping up and it's forming and the idea is surfacing, then what I'll do is as it gets close to me pulling the trigger and if it's getting to the entry price that I need to be getting in at, then I drill in and I'll switch over to this chart here, which is very noisy. It's very drilled in. This is a trigger chart that I use, and I'll drill in to the order flow. So at that point, I have a quality idea. I'm getting ready to enter. I'll use my short-term analysis through my trigger chart and through my order flow. I'll use this to help refine my entries, and I'll use it to manage the positions that I'm in to help me get better scale outs and to help me as I'm getting in and out of trades completely. All right, so this is what I'm using the order flow for. And what I'm not doing is zooming in on this order flow all day, every day, just drilled in, obsessing about every large order that goes off, every amount of liquidity that comes in, every tick that's happening. I'm not obsessing and drilling into all of that. The primary thing that I'm using the order flow for is to refine my entries and then to help manage the positions that I'm already in. Because if I'm just drilled out looking at a 15-minute chart, there's going to be things that you just cannot see there that you can see in short-term analysis and you can see in the order flow. And then even with a drilled in noisy chart, there's going to be things that happen in the order flow that you cannot see anywhere else. So it's going to be really important information to learn, but this is how I'm using it. Beyond that, I do have a couple specific setups and specific things that I look for when it comes to the order flow. But the primary thing that I'm using this is I have my ideas already, and I'm just using this to supplement that and to really refine my entries and refine my scale outs and refine the way I manage those positions. The reason I stress this is because what ends up happening is a lot of traders realize that, wow, everybody that I'm following that I know is making money and I know is doing this, all of them talk about order flow, or everybody that is legit uses order flow. At some point, you understand this. And If you start learning or start incorporating order flow, what ends up happening is somebody learns something about order flow and then they just go nuts. They drill into the minutia and they get caught up in the noise. And then every little tick that's happening, they start obsessing with. And I can tell you that all this information that's happening in the order flow is important information. It's valuable, but it's not important to you making a trade choice. There's very little of this information that you need to be pulling the trigger and entering or exit your trades. And if you're too drilled in and you're just getting caught up in the noise, you're going to waste a lot of money. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. And this is not the way you need to be using order flow. Okay, what ends up happening is if you want to learn about order flow and start diving deeper, you want to start off keeping this very simple. So you want to get an order flow tool. You want to start looking at the order flow. And don't start trading with it right away, because that's what people do. They learn a couple things about it and then they just they just start doing stuff solely based on this. It's a big error. But what you want to do is just do your normal thing. Trade how you're trading. And if you get to a place where you would normally enter a trade, start observing what the order flow is doing. You don't even have to execute on it, and you don't have to do this in real time. You can even go back and kind of compare it if you want. But just start observing what the order flow is doing. Just start watching it. Just start kind of seeing what's going on here. And by virtue of doing that, you'll have a nice process of understanding how your product is moving, almost like a wax on, wax off kind of thing. Like when you're doing it, you might not think that it's important, but if you just kind of like observe the order flow long enough, then if somebody throws a punch at you, you'll be able to block it. It's kind of that same thing. Like you're learning things you don't really know that you're learning, but then they'll start to click. That's maybe the best way I can describe it, which is probably really unsatisfactory, but it's true. But what you can start doing is just use it to enter into trades. That's it. Like don't use it for trade setups. Don't use it for analysis. Have your trade ideas. When you're going to enter, start using order flow just to make those entries better and refine the way you enter trades. Then once you've done that and you've made progress, like not, oh, I've done this for a little bit, but when you can honestly say like, this is what I was doing before, I've started incorporating order flow and now I've improved this much, then you can start taking it deeper and start learning different things and start looking for specific setups, and you can start making it more complicated. But starting off with order flow, specifically just keep it very, very simple. Don't learn a little bit about order flow and then go nuts with it. Keep it real simple, use it very basically, and then you can start using it more. I still to this day use it in a very basic way, a little more complicated because I have some specific setups I look for, but I keep it very simple when it comes to order flow. And I think you'll make a big mistake if you don't do the same. Now, let's talk about just getting started with maybe an actual tool. What we're looking at here, like I said before, this is just a custom tool that's been built out for my charting package. If you are part of the profiling method and if you're working with me as a client, everybody has access to exactly how my charts are set up, the exact specifications. You have access to this tool. But this isn't something that's just available. It won't be in the descriptions, and it's not, for sale or anything like that. So there won't be any point in asking. But if you're looking for a good tool, and for order flow to get started with, you don't have to necessarily purchase anything, but I would recommend it because I think this would be a very nice use of capital. Maybe not even specifically right now. Order flow is, in a lot of cases, probably not going to be the thing that's stopping you from making money, but it can definitely help your process. So once you kind of get your method and you start getting good and you start building some competence, I think then would be a nice place to move into adding in order flow. But whenever you're adding this in, there's some very nice services out there. Peter Davies at Jigsaw Trading has a good product. Footprint is a good product. There's several good products out there that you can look into and use when it comes to using order flow. The one that I would recommend is Bookmap. Bookmap is a product. It's a service. You have a subscription to them, and then they give you, their product. What you're looking at here, if you kind of see my setup, this is a lot of inspiration was taken off of Bookmap. Bookmap was kind of the ones to really bring out this heat map and showing the liquidity in this way. And then a lot of things have spun off of that. This custom tool has a lot of inspiration taken right from the Bookmap. And if I didn't have this set up the way that I did, I would be looking at using Bookmap myself. So that's the one that I would at least recommend you checking out. They make a very nice product that you can use. I think it's 80 or like $100 a month as a subscription, so maybe it's not the right time right now for you, but it would be worth every penny to have access to that information. Now, if you were doing something like Footprint or this tool, or if you were using Bookmap, anything like that is going to come with like sufficient training of how to use it and what everything means. And so it's not that important for me to break it down specifically what we're looking at with this tool. Because if you have access to this, you have access to the profiling method, and I have specific trainings on it. If you're using Bookmap, they'll have specific trainings on it, and you can learn about that tool and learn how to build it out. Okay. So volume, when it comes to order flow, it's a huge part of what makes what I do work, and I would be really falling short if I didn't have access to order flow information, volume profiling too. And so highly recommend that if you haven't been using this, you incorporate it in. I said at the beginning, but every trader that's earning consistently is using order flow at some level, a time and sales window, a depth of market. They're using something, okay? And this is the way that I use it, the way that I would recommend you start using it, very slow, very simplistically, and then build it, out from there. If you guys are interested and you want maybe some more in-depth videos, I can create some content like that in the future, I'm sure. You can just let me know in the comments. But in this video, I just kind of wanted to introduce this, break it down very simply, what market depth and what order flow analysis is, explain to you how I'm using it, and give you some good insights on getting started so you can get started the right way, and some tools that you would have available that you could lean on if you're looking to take it to just like the next level, okay? So if you're still watching this video, I hope that helped and provided some value. Let's all hit the like button on the way out, and I'll see you guys in the next video.